there was a big flaw in the way that realtors were doing business, that you have some realtors that were putting up these hoops for prospects to jump through. And the more legitimate a prospect is, the less hoops they're going to jump through. So they're probably losing out on business. And then you've got the extreme opposite. So many agents that are so hungry for the business, they're willing to go and risk their safety by meeting a complete stranger out in a remote area or empty property without knowing anything about them or the property. So it was something that was realized that, like, wow, we've got all this data and intelligence that we provide to other industries. We should create a product for the real estate industry to really help these folks understand and know who they're actually dealing with before being alone with them when it could be too late.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Doorify MLS podcast. I'm Alan Nielsen, a VP of MLS Systems with Doorify, and I'm here with Robert. Hey, Robert.
Hey, Alan, how's it going?
Going really well. So probably appropriate for you just to do a quick introduction of yourself, who you are, and what your role is at FOREWARN.
Sure. Well, thanks for inviting me to the pod today. Really excited to join and share a little bit more about us and the company and such with your listeners. So, as Alan had said, my name is Robert. I'm one of the business development executives here at FOREWARN, and FOREWARN is an identity verification platform, right? So, if it works and feels and looks very similar to a background check, but technically what we provide is what's considered identity verification. So, it's a tool to help real estate professionals, as we're getting these strangers calling and reaching out to us to do business, first off, being able to verify that they are who they say they are and that they're being honest, because that's usually where bad stuff starts. And then the second part of it, it just helps to kind of remove the blinders, good or bad, to know a little bit more about the person and possibly their character before we're being alone or face to face when it might be a little too late. So it's a tool that's being used around the industry and the country in the real estate industry as a very proactive tool to doing due diligence on prospects.
Fantastic. And Robert, we were talking just before we started recording here that when we first met and started talking about this, and I think we arrived at about at least 2 years you guys have been on the Doorify dashboard, and we certainly are excited that we have you there. So September is Agent Safety Month, and we kind of thought this was a great opportunity to spotlight FOREWARN and how it helps keep agents and their clients safe every day. So I know you just described it a little bit, but anything else you can say to kind of describe FOREWARN for our subscribers?
Sure. So, and I'd like to kind of dovetail into that a little bit, right? Where I know that obviously I'm a broker of over 20 years as well, almost 25 years that I've been a real estate broker. And so I know we kind of designated September as, Realtor Safety Month. But, when I was in production and managing other agents and such, I used to remind them that every day is safety day, right? Because criminals are not just targeting people in September. Unfortunately, they're targeting realtors all throughout the year, right? So it's great that we recognize, the safety aspect in the month of September, but I always try to remind agents, look, we are being targeted by bad people every single day for different reasons. So we just have to stay on guard 24/7, right? So the FOREWARN platform was initially built as a safety product, but with identity verification, that helps in a lot of other areas of business as well. And another big component of this is fraud and fraud prevention. So we can definitely talk about that a little bit as well as we kind of get into the cast. But that's what's cool about the product is it was designed for one thing, but it's kind of morphed into more than just safety. And so, we do a lot of training and webinars and such to help realtors understand other areas and other ways to kind of leverage the data and the system outside of just the safety component. But it's pretty cool. It's a very robust system that, just works, which is
Right.
a novel concept these days, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, and we all know there's so many tools available for agents today. So something that is simple and useful, and like you
Yeah.
said, just works is so incredibly important. So that was a great overview. And like you were saying, agents meet new people every day. They are often meeting them alone, and they're often meeting them at properties they may never even have been in before,
Yeah.
right?
That's kind of why the bad people target realtors, right? Because a lot of the criminals understand and know that this industry is filled with people that are brand new. Like, it's a revolving door of brand new agents, right? And so the bad people know that if they call 10 realtors and say what they want to say to kind of trick them, they're probably going to get, 50 to 70% of them to fall for it, right?
Yeah.
Because they're new, they're hungry for the business, they're kind of hearing what they want to hear. That's kind of why FOREWARN was designed, because we realized it kind of came through a necessity of some of our leadership and executives here at our parent company when they were just going through the process of buying a home, right? They realized and recognized that there was a big flaw in the way that realtors were doing business, that you have some realtors that were putting up these hoops for prospects to jump through. And the more legitimate a prospect is, the less hoops they're going to jump through. So they're probably losing out on business. And then you've got the extreme opposite. So many agents that are so hungry for the business, they're willing to go and risk their safety by meeting a complete stranger out in a remote area or empty property without knowing anything about them or the property. So it was something that was realized that, like, wow, we've got all this data and intelligence that we provide to, law enforcement and different other, other industries like collection companies, financial institutions, some of the alphabet agencies in government, private investigators, and executives were like, hey, we have all this data and intelligence that we provide to other industries. We should create a product for the real estate industry to really help these folks understand and know who they're actually dealing with before being alone with them when it could be too late.
Yeah, yeah. And this is, for the bad actors out there, a lot of times it truly is a numbers game. And like you said, the real estate industry with such a vast number of actors in the industry,
Yeah.
it's prime for that. So if you can, in plain language here, how does the app pull all this information up and present it to the users so fast? What's going on there?
Sure. So our development team and our executives have developed other products previous to this. They've been in this data analytics and identity verification space for a couple decades, since the mid 90s. And it's a little irrelevant to talk about those other products at this point, right? But our core team, our core executives and our developers kind of created and developed what's called data fusion, right? And so we have a giant repository of data where we own all the data. So the previous platforms that our team has built were server based, right? Well, this third generation platform that our team has built, or that kind of how we recognize it, our main product is IDI Core, right? That's what kind of feeds FOREWARN. That's our repository of data. So in this repository, we have billions upon billions of records on citizens here in the United States, right? And so by having that data in our own repository, and it's data that we own, and the platform is now built on the cloud versus a server based. So for us, it creates a lot of redundancy for security measures, but more importantly, for the end user, it allows us to deliver the data very fast, and in most cases, or in this case, to a mobile device as well,
Yeah.
right? So FOREWARN was the first product that our parent company is Red Violet, and we trade on the Nasdaq under the Red Violet umbrella. But FOREWARN was the first brand or product that we actually started delivering data to a mobile device on. Now, law enforcement has gotten an app as well, but FOREWARN was the front runner with that technology for the app. So that's why it's so fast, because it's cloud based and it's in our repository of data. So it's basically, the users, the realtors are basically just searching a query, right? They're putting in a phone number or name. And what's really cool about this platform is that we've got coverage on over 98% of the entire adult population in the US. We will never reach 100% coverage. It'll be impossible to ever achieve that. But this system runs freakishly close, right? And that again, and we pull in data from over 20,000 different places. So it's so robust and so vast. I know it sounds a little negative when I say it, but it's kind of hard to hide from us, right? We are getting, some people live off the grid and under the radar and such, but it's pretty hard to hide from us. And so we are able to capture that data, and we're constantly feeding that data, right? And we're constantly reinvesting in fresh data sources and such. So that's what makes the platform so fast and kind of unique as well.
Fantastic. So, what do you and FOREWARN see in terms of safety trends and red flags that our subscribers should be particularly aware of these days?
Well, I mean, it's kind of across the board, right? With different elements. We know that, I mean, look, 90, probably greater than 95, 98% of people reaching out to your members daily are going to be genuinely good people that just need help, right? But the sad reality is, with all the focus around safety over the years, even dedicating September to Realtor Safety Month, the number of crimes against realtors and the industry keeps going up every year, right? So we just don't know where the bad actors are going to pop up from. So it's, I'm old enough to remember that game Whack-A-Mole, right? So it's kind of like we have to play Whack-A-Mole, right? So yeah, what we've seen over the last probably 2 years, we've seen fraud just explode across the country, right? We have these bad actors, these scammers trying to sell property or land that they don't own. And so, again, FOREWARN was initially created as a safety product, but it is also a fraud prevention product as well, because when you get somebody reaching out to you wanting to sell land or property, right? A scammer can spoof that owner's information or that phone number, and then they can call you from a number that looks like it's tied to this owner, right? But when you call that number back, they can't intercept that call, right? So if you call the owner back and say, "Hey, I just had a couple more questions about the property we're just talking about selling for you," they're going to say, "What are you talking about? I didn't talk to you," right? And that's where the realtor can kind of let the cat out of the bag and explain to them, "Hey, we've got somebody reaching out to us that are claiming to be you. I thought it seemed a little fraudulent. That's why I want to call you and verify this before we do anything with it." And the landowner's going to really love the realtor for that, right? Because they're actually taking one extra step to protect these landowners and these property owners, which, you know, we've seen cases around the country where some of these fraudulent deals are actually getting all the way through closing
Yeah.
and title.
Scary.
And so now even the title company's getting sued as well, right? So you've got the realtors getting sued, the brokers getting sued, the title company's getting sued, and somebody's out money as well, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, and so it's crazy that these things can actually get all the way through closing, but it's happening. And so by having FOREWARN at your fingertips, you're going to be able to just kind of negate that really quick, right? It's just get in, get out, verify. And we've seen that happen. I actually picked up another association because of our training when we teach on how to kind of backdoor that scammer when they're trying to sell land. And it happened in a state where basically this person had a second home, and the realtor called this executive of a board and said, "Hey, just want to verify this information before we put this live on the MLS." He's like, "What are you talking about? I'm not listing anything." And she kind of let the cat out of the bag and told him what's happening. He's like, "This is amazing that you've done this for me to help me protect this,
Yeah.
but how did you know all this? Like what?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, I'm using this product called FOREWARN." And he's like, "What? What's that?" And so it basically got that another association where he
Yes.
was a leader at said, "Hey, we need to look at this product." And then they ended up partnering with us as well and providing the service. So
Very
it
good.
just works, right? It's really cool that yes, this identity verification that was created as a safety product can do more than just safety.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, as I mentioned before, September is Safety Month. And like you
yeah,
said, it should be every day. It's
every day.
Safety Day, right? But it may at least be a good time for agents to stop and consider their safety, what processes they have in place already. But I thought it could be interesting. What kind of mistakes do you see agents make as it comes to their safety?
It happens more often than I think anybody would want, right? And that is where we do have realtors around the country that have access to this platform. They have activated, they've used the platform, but yet they still have somehow, some way ran out the door to go meet somebody without verifying them, right? And then something ends up happening. So it's happened a couple times, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot to use my forewarn," right? So it's one of those things where I particularly don't do the training and webinars anymore or as much. We've hired some full-time trainers for that,
Mhm.
but we used to teach on that, right? Is basically that very first interaction with a prospect or a stranger is when you should be initiating forewarn, right? That first phone call, that first text message, that first email, that first open house visit. And if you get in the habit of just the very first contact with that prospect of running them through FOREWARN to verify them, now you're just going to create that habit, right? And then now not only are you making sure that you're checking everybody before running out the door to be with them, but you're also staying consistent, right? And NAR speaks to that. NAR says if you're going to use a product like this, that you need to do so for everybody, treat everybody equally. And I wholeheartedly agree. I have talked with dozens of realtors over the years now at different events or speaking engagements and whatnot where they were actually assaulted or attacked by a referral, right? That's always like a knee jerk reaction. Oh, my business is all referral. I'm safe. I know well, do you really know who you're dealing with? Does the person that referred that person to you really know who they are, right? Like maybe they've worked together for the last 5 years and they seem like really good people, but did they know that, Joe was a creeper 20 years ago or something, right? So it's one of those things where even referrals are doing bad things to realtors sometimes. And so that's where I just say, hey, just use it, use it at the very beginning of the conversation or interaction with that person. Stay consistent, use it for everybody because you never really know. Like I said, whack-a-mole, right? We don't know when the bad person's going to pop up. And the criminals are very slick. They're very good at what they say and do to connive and convince these realtors of their story,
Yeah.
right? So
And I suppose this is a great opportunity for brokerages as a whole trying to establish a culture within their company that it's safety first, right? And again, with Forewarn, they have an excellent tool to help with that.
it takes a couple seconds, right?
Yes.
There should be no excuse for not doing so. It literally, you put in a phone number, you hit search, in 2 seconds, you're getting the results. There's no reason to not do that.
I think, as you correctly said, agents are typically very busy, right? And to their credit, they are often more concerned about their clients than they are about themselves.
Themselves.
They
Yeah.
forget themselves in that regard, right? And it's a good time to just pause and maybe reconsider some of the processes they have in place. Do you have any real life stories or story that you can bring up where forewarn really made the difference? And I think you brought one up before with
There's
land, but
Yeah, I hear a lot of different stories, right? And it's something that I've had to over the years kind of adjust to. Because I was a broker, right, for
yeah,
20 something years, right? And still am. I've stepped out of production 8 years ago to help kind of launch this product, right? And so, but I hear stories all the time, gut-wrenching stories. I mean, if somebody sits at my booth long enough at an NAR event or something like that, you're probably going to have tears running out of your eyes, right, from hearing stories. So there's a lot of stories. But one that I think a lot of realtors need to hear. I've been trying to get this realtor to do a video testimonial about it because it's a textbook of what the product is for, right? And I'm trying to get her to tell her story because I think more people need to hear it. But I'll try to do a good job of
yeah,
explaining it. So basically, lives in a small town, right, in a rural area, had a listing, $400,000 listing. It's a big listing in that area, right? It's a big listing in a lot of areas. So she gets a call from somebody, sounds very good, wants to go look at the property, makes the appointment to go show the property, right? Ends the call, getting ready to run out the door. Oh, I forgot to forewarn this person. So she forewarns the person, sees that he was in prison for murder, right? Says to herself, oh my gosh, what do I do? I've already made the appointment. I'm a fiduciary to the seller. He sounded legitimate. I need to take somebody with me, right? So she took her husband, her adult son with her, right? They're in an area where they have, open carry for firearms and such, right? So they were all had their firearms with them. So they were prepared for the worst, but hoping for the best, right? She gets over to the property, kind of plays a little stupid, right? Goes, meets the guy in the driveway. Hey, I'm so and so. Nice to meet you. I am so sorry. When we first talked on the phone and we made this appointment, I feel like I was being rude. I never even asked where you're living at now or where you moved from or where you're moving from. And the guy was like, oh, no big deal. I don't find that rude at all. Actually, I've been staying with some family and friends as of recent because I just got out of prison, right? So she says, Robert, right away, my guard went down a little bit because I realized he was being honest with me. I already knew this, but I acted surprised. I said, oh, my Lord, I've never met anybody that's been in prison before. Do you mind sharing with me what you did or what happened? And he didn't really want to get into the details, but he said, some things happened some years ago to my daughter where she was sexually assaulted by somebody, and I found the person that took his life, right? So I know some people don't agree with that, right? It's not always the right thing to do. But this particular realtor at the time said, hey, you know what? I understand. I have kids, right? I probably would have done the same thing.
yeah,
So she proceeded to, show the property to this person. He fell in love with it. He wrote an offer on it. The seller accepted it,
yeah,
right? So she ended up closing the deal, double ending it. So everybody got what they wanted, right? The seller got what they wanted, the buyer got what they wanted. She double-ended a deal and made it home safe,
yeah,
right? And that's what it was about. It wasn't about denying service to this person. It's like, hey, how can I safely service this person, but make sure I make it home safe to my loved ones every day?
right,
And that's what she did, is she never walked into that situation blind.
yeah,
So, and that's what I think it's a powerful story
yeah,
because again, that's what the product was designed for, is to help other realtors understand who they're actually working with and dealing with. And it's not about denying service, right? I'm a broker. All realtors want to make money off of anybody that's thinking about moving. We just don't want to get hurt or worse, and we all deserve to make it home to our loved ones,
yeah,
right? And so that's what it's about. It's about, hey,
right,
how do I make sure that this person gets what they want? I'm
right,
making it home safe.
yeah, yeah. And they can take some precautions to make sure, like she did, brought family with her husband and that stuff. That's
Yeah.
a great story.
Which, hey, in some cases, right, it could be that maybe they're bringing other people to be victims, right? So that's where it gets a little shady.
Yeah.
Well, I'll take somebody with me. Well, what happens if they outnumber you or something,
But
right? So
yeah,
stuff
plus
like
you
that
have the
happens.
personalities that are hesitant in inconvenience others to go with them or something like that, where I think, we have to get past that and say, no,
Yeah.
this safety is crucial here. As we're getting to the end here, for subscribers that have not yet signed up for the FOREWARN account, what do they need to do?
Sure. So obviously, as a member of yours, they're getting the service as part of their membership to Doorify, right? So there's no additional cost to them; it's included. And so really, all they have to do is they can either reach out to me, and we can get them an activation link. I know y'all have the ability to send out an activation link as well, right? So they just need to reach out to you or me or both, or one of us, and we'll get them set up. It's a really simple process. Some people think, "Oh man, I need to do this when I have time." It literally takes a minute or less to set up. It's so easy.
Yeah.
It's only a couple of steps. So Yeah, and I'd also love to encourage listeners to maybe sign up for a future webinar. We host a couple of training webinars every single month. And of course, for September, we're going to be doing them probably a couple times a week, right? We're going to be loading up our webinar schedule. So I would encourage people to sign up for that webinar. And then that way, you can just get a little bit, take a little deeper dive on the product, right? And understand a little bit more about it. And if you'd like, I can maybe share a link
Yes,
to a really
absolutely,
cool,
surely.
a
Yeah.
really good resource. I probably should have pulled this up beforehand. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. And while you're doing that, I can let the listeners know that on the Doorify dashboard, we have the FOREWARN link there or tile. So that's a good place to start, is go there. And we will also work with you, Robert, to get these webinars on our training calendar. So they're easy to find.
I just shared a link to our communities page as well. We've got a communities tab or page. It's kind of hidden on our website. You have to have the link to get to it.
Yeah,
But this is a great resource for realtors to also access because it provides a way for them to activate their account if they haven't activated yet, right? And I always want to remind, use your ad, you got to use the email address that Doorify has provided to us, what you have on record with Doorify, right? That way it matches in our system when you go to activate. Or if we have to change it or update it, just let us know. Let Doorify know, let me know. We'll get it updated as well. But you want to use that email that's associated with them. But that community tab that I just sent, or resources page I sent you, allows them
great.
to
And
not
I'm
only
trying to pull
activate
it up
there.
here. So those who are following on video, that they can actually see it.
Yep.
And that should be the page here.
There you go. And so you've got search tips, frequently asked questions, activation instructions, how it works, training. You can sign up for training. You can see some recorded videos. Great resource page for your listeners as well. And like I said, I always encourage realtors to jump into a training webinar and just learn a little bit more about the product, right? Um, you might actually learn a couple things and it'd be very beneficial to you. So
Wonderful. Yeah,
good.
and we will make sure behind the tile that we have on our dashboard, we will make sure that this link is there. So, like I said, the tile for FOREWARN is on the dashboard, and that's a great way to get started. Robert, if they want to get in contact with you,
Sure.
how do they do that?
I just put my contact information in the chat if anybody can see that, but my direct phone number here at the office is going to be area code 561-757-4566. I'll repeat that, 561-757-4566. It's a direct line to me here. Monday through Friday, pretty much, business hours, 9 to 6 and Eastern time. I'm in Florida. And then my email address is going to be my first initial last name. So R, and then my last name is spelled G as in George, A as in Adam, Z as in zebra, D as in David, A as in Adam. So R Gazda at forewarn.com. FORE. A lot of people forget the E. FOREWARN.com.
Yeah, I've done that a few times too, and I have to go back and correct it. And of course, they should remember to let you know that they are subscribers of Doorify when
Yep,
they.
just let me know. Yep. And we should be able to find them and verify all that in our system, and then we'll get you, rocking and rolling in just a couple minutes. Yep.
Right. Perfect. Thank you, Robert. And thank you, everybody, for listening in today. This is such an important topic. And please be sure to protect yourself and the people you work with.
Yep.
And yeah, take care, everybody. And hope to see you on the next podcast. And thank you, Robert, for talking to us.
Thanks for inviting me. I really appreciate it, and I wish everybody, safe business out there. Stay safe out there.